Hello everyone. So today's topic is the American Revolution. Okay, so without wasting any time, let's start our topic. What is this American Revolution? See, it is basically the American War of Independence. Okay, so it is also known as American War of Independence or say it American Revolution. Both are same things. Okay, and similar to this, there comes another chapter also, that is the French Revolution or the French War of Independence. Both are the same things. Okay, there is no need of doubt on it. Okay, so it was basically the fight for the freedom, because originally in America there were the native peoples residing in that particular country, and Christopher Columbus observed those things and said, the people, that they were the red Indians because he was in search of India. But instead of reaching India, he came where? He came to North America. Okay, and at those 13 colonies, and he saw the people who were the native to this country, that were the red Indians. Okay, and soon after that, Britishers came to know about this information. So what now the question arises over here? Okay, so what is that? What was the American Revolution? A war between 13 American colonies and the Britain, okay, in which France played a leading role by helping those 13 American colonies from the British expansionist policy. It happened from the period between 1775 to 1783 AD, which gave birth to the United States of America, as well as it was a fight for freedom, self-rule, and a democracy. Okay, it was a fight for freedom, self-rule, and democracy. Exactly. Remember these dates. These dates are very important. Now coming towards the background of this American Revolution. Why did this American Revolution begin? Because the colonies were ruled by the Britain, and everybody has having the habit to not having their autocratic rule over them. And there was, as well as it was also not the reason. There another reason was there was no representation of the American natives in the British Parliament. There were unfair taxes such as the Stamp Act, Tea Act. Okay, so these also contributed to the overall procedure. The colonists also protested that no taxation without representation. We will be not given any tax if we are not being represented at the British Parliament, exactly at the English Parliament. So that's why it also contributed to the American War of Revolution. Then comes another topic, the sparks of rebellion. Okay, the sparks of rebellion. What were the sparks of rebellion? There were various massacres, there were various brutal battles and brutal incidents. For example, in 1770, you can see the Boston Massacre. In the present day, you can see the Boston, which is near New York. Okay, and it's a very good city for education point of view. Okay, you can see in the map of America, the way the 13 colonies were settled. Over these regions, the 13 colonies were settled. Okay, now coming to the date, the 1770, there happened the Boston Massacre, and under 1773, the Boston Tea Party incident also happened, in which the Britishers punished the colonies with the coercive acts. Okay, and in 1775, finally Lexington Massacre held, in which first shots at the Lexington and Concord. These are the two cities. Okay, coming towards another topic, how did this war begin? The American Revolution, how did this begin? The war was started in 1775. In 1775, the war was started, and in 1776, the colonies declared their independence because the colonies emerged victorious in them. And this declaration of independence was done by whom? Thomas Jefferson. Very, very important. Coming towards another point, George Washington, who was the first president of USA, he led the Continental Army. So the major role of George Washington also contributed to this American War of Independence. Okay, key battles. Key battles. What are those key battles? And before that, I would like to tell about Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln. Okay, this is your homework. Please comment it and tell me. We will be discussing it in a separate video. Okay, about Abraham Lincoln, his contribution to the American Revolution. Okay, key battles. Okay, Battle of Saratoga. And before that, on the Abraham Lincoln topic, I would like to suggest you that it is a very later part of the American Revolution. So but it has a deep connection with the topic, so we will be discussing about it in a separate video. Okay, under the key battles, what are the key battles which occurred during the events of the American Revolution? Like the Battle of Saratoga, which happened in 1777 AD, which is the major American victory in which the American became victorious against the Britishers. And Battle of Yorktown, which happened in 1781, in which the British General Cornwallis, not that Lord Cornwallis who introduced the civil services in India, It is British General Cornwallis. It is very different. Is very different British General who surrendered to the Americans, and finally France helped America to win. And these major key events took place under the key battles scenario. And how the war ended by the signing of the Treaty of Paris in 1783. Okay, and that Statue of Liberty, that Statue of Liberty, which is standard like this and this. Okay, that Statue of Liberty, it is a gift to whom? To the Americans. It is a gift by France to the Americans because it signifies liberty, and the liberty concept is taken from France. So Treaty of Paris, it happened in 1783. Okay, Britain recognized America's independence. Okay, and Britain also recognized the same, that America should become an independent country, and they looked towards another angle, that we must expand our territories to another country, to the another nation such as India, and African nations. 13 colonies became the United States of America, and those 13 colonies, which I have discussed in a separate video, I will be discussing them in a separate video. So, those 13 colonies, you are well aware of those 13 colonies, they became the United States of America. Okay, those Virginia, Jamestown, New Hampshire, and etc. and so on. Okay, coming towards the global impact. So what was the global impact of the American Revolution? So this revolution inspired other revolutions too. For example, the French Revolution and the Latin American Revolution, they were also inspired by the American Revolution because it was being the first revolution in the entire history of the world. Okay, and secondly, it spreaded the ideas of liberty, the concept of liberty. It okay, it spreaded that democracy, but liberty idea, more than the American Revolution, it was inspired by the French Revolution, because the French were the first who contributed toward it. Okay, democracy and the rights. Okay, so the revolution is spreaded those all ideas. It was a model for the future government, for the future, for those future governments who were autocratic towards their nation, and monarch to their nation, or the dictatorship toward their nation. So it is a model for those future governments. Which model? The American Revolution. Coming towards the conclusion part, the American Revolution was more than a war. Okay, it was more than a war. Okay, it was a revolution of ideas, and the power shifted from the kings to the people, because finally the conclusion comes to the public opinion, not to the autocrat. And a new nation was born, and the name of that new nation was the United States of America. So I hope you enjoyed this quick history. Please like, share, and subscribe the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon